All right, everybody, and we are live. We are here at the Defend DC Town Hall, and I am here with Pastor Patty Fears. She's one of the organizers for this event. Okay, and she is the head. She is the organizer for the Target D.C boycott. She is also the head organizer for the Word for Faith leaders. Okay, so, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
You are so welcome. It's an honor to be here. So, just to let everyone know, tell us exactly what your mission is here tonight.
Well, tonight, my mission is to make sure that people understand that we have some solidarity with other groups, that we can work better together, that there are opportunities for everybody, whatever their level of engagement is with this occupation, to make sure that they connect with a group, that they know that there are people out there. Because a lot of times people just think that, well, I don't know, it's not happening, it's not in my small circle, that they don't know what's going on. So we want to educate people on the different activities, the different opportunities that are out there and getting them engaged.
I love that. I love that. So, you know, you are currently, right, head of two organizations, two very important causes, two very relevant causes. Number one, the Target boycott. Okay, that's been happening since what, April has it been?
No, we started back at the beginning of the Lenten season. So we started with the national organization that did the Target fast.
Okay.
And we said that instead of fasting, we're just going to go out and stand in front of the store and be more aggressive with our approach, because we wanted people to understand that there's some financial literacy that has to take place. We can't ask our corporations to, put money into our communities if we're not putting money into our communities. So we got a list of all of the Black and brown vendors. We were distributing to them. We also were offering them the opportunity to say, look, these are our black banks. You can invest your money in those. We want you to rethink about how you spend your dollar and the value and the growth that you could personally contribute to the community.
I love that. So let's talk about this, right? Because the Target boycott has been going on for quite some time, since, as you just said, the Lenten season.
So that was in February.
In February, right? So the boycott has been going on since February. You all have been out here for the very beginning, and I just want you to let the people know exactly how you all are implementing your boycott, because I do think that it is very different than what is going on with the rest of the country. So could you let them know exactly what you all are doing here in DC to boycott Target?
Absolutely. So, and as a matter of fact, the national organizers have gotten with us. Jamal Bryan and his group has, as he says, oh, you all are in the belly of the beast and you all are going right into it. And what we have done was we're out there every Saturday.
Out where exactly?
We're in front of the Target on Columbia Road and 14th Street. We're having our presence known. We're handing out information. We have QR codes with the list of all of the vendors that they could be going to. And we develop relationships with the vendors that are outside of the store. Okay. So they have vendors on the street. And originally they were kind of focused on just the things that they had accustomed to, maybe food or maybe some jewelry. But as we started coming out and being persistent, and they see that we are committed to really shifting the economic narrative, they started putting in the everyday items that people would typically be going to Target for.
Like what exactly?
I mean, down to toothpaste and toothbrushes. So then they sell those as well, brushes and hair care products. They were providing that where they weren't doing that before.
I love that. I love that. So, how often are you all going out there to picket?
Every Saturday from 11 to 12. We originally were out there for several hours and realized that it's not as effective in getting a large group of people to come.
Really?
Yes, because it'll wear you down after a while. You're marching on cement, you're doing your thing. But to be out there for an hour, we're complying with all of the regulations, so you don't have to get a permit for it. And we're just educating people. And various groups come and march with us.
What other groups have you seen come out with you?
Free DC, the NAACP,
Oh, wow.
the Southern Christian Leadership. We have had a number of different groups, small groups, large groups, and they'll tell their members, "This is my day." Even the churches, and particularly the churches that have bought onto the fast,
Yes.
but now they want to do something else. Okay, so what does that mean? How could I make it a greater impact? And so they've been coming in, and so some Sundays I may have 4 or 5 church members out, and somebody else may have 10 of them out, and so we just let the people come out so they could exercise their right.
On average, when you all go out on Saturdays, how many people are turning out?
Oh, about 30 to 40 people.
That's wonderful. So let me ask you, we all see what is happening from a national level as far as the Target CEO that will be stepping down in February. We all see on a national level how they're losing billions of dollars. Since you all have started your Target Fest here in DC, especially in front of that store in Columbia Heights, have you all seen any effects of your protesting?
We have seen a major decrease. People that
Mm.
once never, they kind of came to us like, "What you doing that for?" Became the, "Oh yeah, I'm with you."
Really?
Some people have even joined the boycott themselves, because once we give them the literature and you give them the information, they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm with you," and they come out.
I love that. So, how do the employees react when you're out there?
The employees understand because we have a conversation with them as well. You will always be a shirt folder or a cashier, and we are looking for
Mm.
you to be CEOs. You have management potential, and this company is not going to allow you to do that. We don't want you to lose your job. That's not our point. We don't want to shut down the store. We want the store to do the right thing. They made promises and they need to keep them.
Okay. So let's talk about that. So from a national level, again, you said you're working with Dr. Jamal Bryant, who's one of the major voices of this movement.
Mhm.
Um, what type of, excuse me, what type of progress is being made? Because Target still hasn't reinstated its DEI programs, right? And made good on the promises, the billions of dollars they promised to
Mhm.
give Black and Brown organizations. So what type of progress have you seen?
What we're seeing is that this is a corporation willing to cut its nose off to spite its face. If you see that your income has dropped significantly, your market shares have decreased significantly, even though this kind of fake switching of the CEOs is there.
Why do you call it fake?
Because you just moved the CEO, put his COO in the position. He's still on the board. He's not going to go anywhere. We're really looking for a cultural shift and an acknowledgement. We just see this as just blatant racism, and let's show it for what it is. You were trying to take advantage of a moment when George Floyd was killed because it happened in your door. And then as soon as you had the opportunity to get out of it, you did. And so, though we're not interested, like I said, we have a lot of Black people and brown people that work in the stores, but they're doing the jobs that they typically think we're only accustomed to doing. The small little fold the clothes, put them away, this behind the scenes stuff, not management level things.
Why do you think this boycott has been so effective at Target versus Walmart that has also cut back their DI program?
What we find out, and one of the strategies or the strategy that we're employing is like the same strategy that Dr. King used with the Montgomery boycott. You take one, use it as an example, and you move to the next. Most of the time, they'll just capitulate because they can't deal with the pressure that's being put on them. But the reality is, we knew the Target who made the promise. They were the ones that came out with these big, bold $2 billion. This money, we're going to put it in, invest in Black banks. We're going to be investing in HBCUs. We're doing all these things. They said it, and we're just asking them to come through. Now, the disappointing thing is, just this week, well, just really last week now, Cracker Barrel was changing their logo. White people got upset and they flipped their logo back to the old one within 5 days. We've been out for more than 5 months and they still haven't moved. but they're seeing that, you could decide if you're going to continue to play the game and lose the revenue and eventually lose the store.
Has Target corporate or any maybe even local leadership contacted your organization to reach out?
Yes, the local managers, they all know, they understand, and they've been, like, we understand why you're doing it.
The local managers have contacted you all?
The local managers have come. The store managers have come outside. They haven't tried to
Really?
shut us down or anything. Um, and corporate, their ego is allowing them to get away with some things. They've contribute money to some organizations like the National
National
Baptist
Baptist?
Convention,
Yes.
which was a very, very disheartening and disappointing thing.
I heard it was for $300,000. Isn't that right? That they had to split apart.
Absolutely, which gives you about, $11 and some change for each one of the members of your church members. So you're not even bargaining well, but you think you are. And that's why I said, with people that don't have the information, and sometimes behind, the stained glass and all of the wonderful cathedral type churches, we don't have that understanding of how people are moving. And that's what happened. And we were really, really disappointed. But Progressive came out. The Progressive Baptist Convention came out, and they said, "No, we're not putting up with this. We're not going to take any money from you, and we're going to tell our people to stay away."
So let me ask you, coming back to when the Baptist Convention took that money, was there? I know that it was a big fallout from that. Was there any type of statement from them? Was there any type of explanation from them? Because the news came out and I kind of just didn't hear anything. I know Roland Martin. Shout out to Roland Martin. I know he tore a new one.
Yes,
Okay, he did on
he
his
did.
show, but we never really heard anything else.
Yes, as a matter of fact, Roland Martin did. There was a group of faith leaders from the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference, even from the La Carey Conference, and a number of renowned clergy that came out and protested against them. And they just try to kind of slip it away and leave it unscathed. So now you have to deal with the stain. You blew it, and now people know. And the impact that it has had on the convention, I'm not sure. But I know that there were many, many, many disappointed churches that they took that stance from leadership.
I'm sure. And, you know, let me ask you, do you think what the National Baptist Convention did is the reason why, African Americans can't make any, substantial progress for socioeconomic justice?
I don't know if it's that single thing that will keep us from being socially and economically progressive. The reality is we just have to remember that we don't have to, white water isn't wetter, and the spending our money in the white stores aren't going to make us more important and look better. Those designers don't mean anything. I don't need to have an outfit with everybody's design on there, names that I don't know, and people that wouldn't let me in their front door. We have to remember who we are, take pride in it, and find our way to come back to ourselves. That's the work that we have to do in house, and that's real. I understand that, and that's what I try to tell my church every Sunday, and every chance that I could get, is that nobody's going to love you if you don't love you. Scripture tells you love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul, and your neighbor as yourself. But if you don't love yourself, then we've got problems.
Absolutely. So let's kind of, go to the next reason why you're here. Okay.
Okay.
Your next cause that you lead, right? That brings us here tonight. So the Word for Faith interleaders, or
The interfaith work of the Ward for Faith Leaders.
yes, the interfaith work board for faith leaders, that kind of brings together faith leaders from all denominations. Is that right?
Not only denominations, but religious groups. We have rabbis, we have a Buddhist monk, we have a little bit of everybody, plus all of the different denominations, the Lutheran churches. It's one of the most fascinating things, because I'm one of those rare birds in the district and in our region that has a lot of churches of people that ain't skin folk.
Absolutely. So tell the viewers exactly What are you all doing? What is the mission of this organization?
Okay, the mission of the organization started out to reduce the gun violence in the city. Um, 2 years ago now, when the crime was what our president wants you to believe it is today, it was rampant, and there was guns all of the time. And we decided when our city council member came to us, she was quivering, her body shaking out of anger and fear and frustration. And so we decided for 72 hours we would open up various houses of worship for people just to come and lament. Now, we didn't have any specified program. Some churches were open from midnight to 6 a.m. Some churches were open from 6 a.m. to noon. And people could just drop in on their way to work in the middle of the day and they could just pray. During that 72 hours, there was no gun violence.
Really? Just for the churches being open?
Just for the churches being open and the people having that sacred space to come.
Really?
It was just not there, and we knew that it worked. We went from that to doing prayer walks around the schools. We walked around high schools. We walked around elementary schools. We went to spots that were considered hot spots in our area, in our neighborhoods where gun violence had taken place. And we went and we did prayer vigils. We let the community come in so they could express their frustration and anger, but know that they had people there that was going to transform that space from this horrible scene into a place of sacred hope and life again.
Wow, that's amazing. So for 72 hours that the church was open, 72 hours, no murders, right?
None,
No murders.
none.
Why did that stop? Because that sounds like something you want to keep doing.
Well, I could tell you there were 8 churches and we did it for 72 hours and we wanted to get more churches involved, but it gets wearing, because the church is a building. The church houses, and most people think are just buildings. We have individuals. And so they wear thin, and many congregations are not as robust as they were prior to the pandemic. So to leave your church doors open all night, people had to be there all night to receive those people.
So let me ask you this then. Since you all have already opened the doors and it worked, almost 24 hours, do you think that is the real solution here to ending the violence problem in DC? So let's say this occupation of DC ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, you all, I do want to let you know we are live here. I think we're recording. All right, so that is quite remarkable that for the 72 hours that you all had the doors of the church open, there was no violence. Do you believe that once this occupation ends, if it should end, of DC, do you think that is the answer to still keeping this place peaceful?
I think the answer is really going to be for us to take the money that we invest as taxpayers in this city. We pay more taxes than 32 states in the union.
Wow.
And take that money, give us control so that we could fund programs that are necessary, so we could continue to do what we're doing. Because even keeping our doors open, we know what it means for people to have sacred space. We know what it means for people to have relief because they're weary. People are just weary of it all. And now they're weary of this occupation. You want to talk about getting guns off the street and then you bring in troops with more guns. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. Well, churches.
But let me ask you a question though.
Mhm.
You say that, but crime is down, so something is working.
Crime was down.
Can prayer work, and also the troops? Can prayer and the troops work?
I think prayer works, and the troops just aren't necessary because what's happening now is when I call the DC police, if something happens, I call 911. They don't know what to do.
What do you mean? Expound on that.
911, do I get a federal troop or do I get a police? Because now you've taken over it. DC is not a state like some states in the union. So if you get incarcerated in DC, you're going to a federal jail, which
Right.
means they could ship you anywhere they want to. And so what we need is people, or they're not responding. I've heard reports where the police just don't know what to do, so they just
Really?
don't respond. Yes, and so we need to make sure that we have control. We had some of these things that were in place and they were working. And then what happens is we, by nature, ease up on some of the things, some of the activities. Now, the Ward for Faith Leaders, we went from having our 72 hours of prayer. We did our prayer walks, and that's what we did. We walked the community. And then we had Peace Camp for 9 to 13-year-olds. And we
What is peace camp?
Peace Camp, this is we just finished up our second year where we were teaching young people first how to develop legislation, because they were saying to us when we went into the schools they weren't being heard. And so we asked our councilwoman, give us 4 issues that children are addressing to you. They chose an issue that they wanted and they wrote a legislative solution, and it was on bullying. They said the cyberbullying.
I love that.
Yeah, and so the kids last year put together a proposal and they decided to have a podcast, would you believe, where they could call in and have this podcast and talk to somebody about being cyberbullied.
I love that. And you know, that's something new with this generation, but very much so relevant
And needed.
and needed. So let's kind of go back here to your interfaith, right?
Yes.
You have people from all walks of life, all different religions, Buddhists, you have the rabbis, Hispanic churches, I'm sure you Asian community as well.
Absolutely.
Asian community, you know. So I'm going to just ask you a frank question, right? How do you deal with the sentiment from the African American community that this is not our problem?
This I've left organizations of clergy that I know, clergy groups in the city, because their theologies no longer align with mine.
Tell me more.
If you tell me at the beginning of the year, like when we were dealing with Trump first getting into office, talking about bringing in all these troops and he was going to import all these immigrants, and then to hear clergy say, well, they voted for Trump, so I don't care what happens to them. That doesn't align with my theology of loving your neighbor.
I understand. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they did, you know, Hispanics overwhelmingly, they did vote for Trump, right?
Mm-hmm. But so
So
did black men. And
yeah,
so
they
now
but
I have
only but they said 82% of black men voted for Trump. Excuse me, 82% of black men did vote for Kamala. So you know, it's still when you have 50% of Hispanics who did vote for Trump. So you know, it you can understand the hesitancy to advocate for people who really did not see you as equals, right?
well, they're not. It's not a question of seeing me as equals, but understand what they were getting, because there's a lot of white people that voted for Trump that are now in shock.
But he said what they were getting. He said that
And he's been telling people that's one thing I can say about Trump. He lies about a lot of stuff, but he tells you exactly what he's getting ready to do. And is look, I'm going to take over. You're never going to have to vote again. You're never going to have to do this stuff. And are not listening to what it needs to be done. But as far as I'm concerned, from a if it was just me, just Hattie Fears, and you could feel that way. But as clergy, I have an obligation and a responsibility to be in line with my faith that says, even though I don't like you, I have to find ways to love upon you, to find the imago Dei, the God in you, that I could say, yeah, God didn't make a mistake when he made you.
okay. So let's add another point into this. Okay, Miss Patty Fears. I know. I know because you know, but this is the thing, right? Definitely, you know, as much as I'm an antagonist, I'm actually want to give a voice to the other side of this.
No, and I
Because this is
appreciate that.
yes, because there's the other side of this that you want to join you,
Mm-hmm.
who feels exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so they need answers because you cannot do your mission without them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, so they need a reason why they
Absolutely.
should join you, and that is the opportunity why that I want to give you right now. Okay, so second question for you, right? All right, you're joining in with, let's say, again, the Asian community, the Hispanic the community, the Jewish community, right? Uh, People who have kind of joined in on the oppression of African Americans, right? Which, for the most part, the civil rights movement, we helped to power and mobilize, right? And also, other elected officials, right? That black vote, just like with DEI, that really benefited those groups as well, right? And it has been the pattern in history that we help these groups, and then when they don't need us anymore, they kick us to the curb. Right.
Absolutely.
Why should we help these people?
Well, my thing is there are no permanent enemies. There are no permanent friends. There's only permanent issues. And so we have to say, if your issue was to help instigate freedom and freedom has arrived, then we have to have a plan to move forward. Because the Jewish people had a plan, the Asian people had a plan, and so we have to have a plan too, not to just assimilate. Even Dr. King said, in his final days, it's just like, I think I may have integrated our people into a house on fire. So
Mm.
we have to be careful that while we're doing this outward coalition, that we're also doing some inward strategy to build up our people. I don't want my children to think they have to be a particular way in order to be successful. That's not freedom. Just because I could get in the door, that's not freedom. If I could get them in the door and they could be their true and authentic self and flourish in there, now we're doing something.
Let me ask you: have you met any resistance with these people of these different denominations, right? To come to the black communities, right? Because it seems like, and from what I'm told, right, if if from what I'm told, that the National Guard isn't really targeting the upper echelons, the Georgetowns, that they're going in the southeast, the northeast, right, the more black and brown communities,
Absolutely.
right? So how are you meeting any resistance, right, with the rabbis and other folks, right, to come over there?
Well, no, now I'm seeing that we're all starting to come together because we see it as a greater plot. So the people that may not have once even been here tonight or been at an event I was at yesterday that was over in Deanwood and far northeast, they would have never been over there. And they were.
Their fears. Earlier, I spoke to a gentleman named Ahmad, and he's a DC resident, and he said that he felt that it was some racial tension due to the fact that many of the National Guard that are coming in here, number one, are not from the area, and number two, are white and policing black and brown communities, and due to that, that is creating racial tension. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I believe that's very possible because that's an old model from an old playbook. If you go to the South, if you've got to get all these people from Alabama, Ohio, these red states, and bring them into black and brown communities that they're not accustomed to seeing, that makes everybody uncomfortable. If it would be like me going somewhere, and I'm from New England, so when I go back to Massachusetts, I know people are looking at me strange, and I'm looking at them because they're not the same type of a person. When you're not from the area, it's very difficult for you not to appreciate some of the nuances. And so there is some tension because you don't know. But the biggest tension is not so much the color because we don't even know what they look like underneath these masks. All we're seeing is eyes coming at us. And I would tell any young lady, hey, stranger danger. Some man with no uniform with any insignias on it is coming up to you, telling you get in the car. Don't do it. You don't know where he's going to take you.
Question for you.
Sure.
So with this going on, is once I had a question. Hold on. Good thing. I'm so happy that this is alive. Because no, it has, but you're bringing up some good points, and I just want to make sure I collect my thoughts because sometimes I can, be a little long-winded answering questions. So I'm trying to get to it.
And I'm
Okay. Okay. Question for you. uh, to kind of change gears a little bit,
Mhm.
the mayor, right?
Yes.
The
Mhm.
mayor. What is your relationship to the mayor? Because I know you are on a few councils regarding Medicaid and others. So, what is your relationship with her?
Well, the work that I do in the government is usually outside of her purview. I'm
Okay.
I'm not a fan. I try not to get connected because they come and go. Some of her policies I have not agreed with early on. I thought she had done her heyday would have been with Black Lives Matter Plaza, all that. Boo, that's when you need to walk out. But she didn't. So she stayed in, and now we find ourselves being compromised on every front. And she, with our budget and everybody take down Black Lives Matters, let's get rid of the homeless because it doesn't look appealing for some congressmen that doesn't even live here most of the time. So yeah, I don't have probably the best relationship with her, and I don't make any bones about it.
So let me ask you a question though, because just so you all, for those of you all who do not know, since DC is not a state, all of their funding, budget, everything comes from the federal government, right? Like Pastor Patty mentioned earlier, if since DC is a federal territory, if you get arrested here, they put you into federal prison, right?
Mhm.
So with that in mind, if she doesn't comply,
Mhm.
there's a good chance that it could affect the budget. I mean, the administration has threatened that. Would you rather DC not get any money or the budget be affected, right? Or her just to comply to keep things moving?
The budget has been cut by billions of dollars, and she's complying. So I'm
Hmm.
I'm confused as to how to even answer that question.
Okay.
Her not doing it isn't helping us.
Okay.
So she might as well not acquiesce to every whim, because this man has millions of dollars for a gold ballroom in the White House
Yes.
and a $2 billion beautification around the White House. But you're going to take our citizens off of Medicaid. Nah, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
That's something. That's what statehood. That's what our Free DC campaign is about. That extension.
And let's talk about that. The DC residents are being removed from Medicaid. Is that right?
Yes, that's coming up because that's our biggest pot of money. And when we were told in the middle of the budget cycle, it wasn't for next year. This is for money that had already been budgeted. That you have to get rid of $1 billion. The only place you could go is to the medical system. To the health system. And so 25,000 of our residents will soon be getting removed from Medicaid.
That's crazy. Could you just tell the people what committee you sit on? How do you know this information? Because I know you're a part.
Yeah, I sit on an advisory board for our DC Health Exchange. Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. So, what is the plan for these 25,000 people that will be cut off?
TBD, to be determined. I know they're rolling out some pieces of it. There's a program called Healthy DC. There's going to be some things that are not covered, that'll be missing in the program. But it's just finding that right combination of um, medical partners that are going to pick it up, because right now there's not providers in place, and so we just have to wait and see. And this will all take place when the season opens up. And well, it'll start happening soon. People will start getting notices in a couple of weeks. Um, but they'll be able to it'll go into effect at the beginning of the year.
Wow. What type of fallout do you think is going to happen once this is? Because I mean, in the big scheme of things, I know it's 700,000 people that live in DC.
Mhm.
And if it's only 25,000 that don't have Medicaid anymore, that's kind of small, don't you think?
No, if you have a health disparity that you're already dealing with because you don't have the right things in place, if you used to have your doctor for your diabetes, but now you can't get your eyes checked because they're no longer providing eye exams, that's everything. So 700,000 people that may be covered. And we talk about 700,000, but some of these 700,000 are not just black and brown people that are suffering. These are a rack of people that have lost their jobs because of the federal cutbacks.
Yeah.
So everybody, we don't have the largest federal population, but
Mm-hmm.
we do have the highest concentration. So restaurants have already closed up. We're dealing with a lot of stuff here at one time.
I can believe it. I can believe it. Well, listen, I appreciate your time. This has been amazing. I'm so happy we were able to talk.
I am so glad
Yes,
to.
yes, this conversation was well needed. So I do have your website scrolling. It's wordforfaithleaders.org.
Right.
So people can go there if they want to join you.
Absolutely.
Yes. And do you have any other upcoming events that the people should know about if they want to be a part of this?
Well, this, as a matter of fact, on Saturday, of course, we'll be out for our Target event, and then we'll be doing a beloved banquet, which will be in front of one of our local churches, the Walker Memorial Church, and there's a number of people, including our dear beloved sister Tracy Blackman, Reverend Dr. Tracy Blackman, will be coming in town to feed and get to have a banquet for our immigrant communities and our homeless communities.
I love that. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, you all. I appreciate you all tuning in to Get Well with Mel. And we are doing this, y'all, live every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for tuning in.